Good evening. This is the CBS Evening News. Dan Rather reporting. General Motors today announced it will buy Hughes Aircraft Company, the world's largest automaker, buying a giant defense contractor specializing in electronic equipment. It's a $5 billion deal, making it the biggest acquisition of a private company in our country's history. And Jane Bryant-Quinn reports today's deal points to tomorrow's high-tech automobile, a car unlike any you have ever driven.
And that's why
for nearly a year, General Motors Chairman Roger Smith has been saying he was working on a Lulu of a deal. And today,
Lulu is home now.
the nation's largest automaker will pay more than $5 billion for the nation's seventh largest defense contractor, enlarging giant GM to an $89 billion corporation. GM wants Hughes Aircraft for its fat defense contracts for guided missiles and advanced radar systems, systems that can also be used in the next generation of high-tech automobiles. In a few years, cars may be equipped with radar to avoid collisions and with radio beacons to keep drivers from getting lost.
I think we've made the major developments already in terms of road and handling and safety and emissions and fuel economy, and the big thing left is electronics. It's the new frontier.
But in buying Hughes, GM is also diversifying out of the automobile business, which one industry analyst says is under continuing pressure from imports.
I think GM may have decided that the automobile business is mature and not going to grow very rapidly, and wants to put some of their cash, some of their finances into other businesses which are high-tech and perhaps growing more rapidly.
As part of its strategy, GM has been moving away from building small cars in the United States. Today, it imports a growing number of its subcompacts from Japan and Korea. And it's pressing to automate U.S. assembly lines to reduce the number of hours and the number of workers it takes to build cars. GM Chairman Roger Smith said today that cars have a fantastic future. But by buying Hughes Aircraft, he is also saying that for General Motors, cars will no longer be enough. Jane Bryant-Quinn, CBS News, New York.
The House of Representatives late today voted to impose economic sanctions against South Africa. The lopsided vote 295 to 127. President Reagan opposes such sanctions, but Phil Jones reports this vote increases the heat on Mr. Reagan to change his policies.
It was scenes such as these, almost daily arrests of Americans at the South African embassy in Washington, college campus demonstrations across the U.S., and pictures of ongoing violence in South Africa that led to today's overwhelming House approval of economic sanctions against the South African government and a rejection of Reagan administration policies there.
How can we wave the flag as Americans based upon our democratic ideals and embrace apartheid?
We should use the economic might of the U.S. to declare war literally on apartheid, not to cut and run.
The House anti-apartheid legislation prohibits U.S. bank loans to the South African government, new American investments in South Africa, export of computers to the government, imports into the U.S. of Krugerrand gold coins, and sales of nuclear goods. The House vote today added pressure on the Reagan administration to get tougher, and the Republican-controlled Senate is likely to approve a similar measure, which Foreign Relations Committee Chairman Lugar says is bound to get the attention of the South African government.
Government may have miscalculated this country's attitude, governmentally or popularly. The government of South Africa may have continued on in a business-as-usual proposition far too long. I think that calculation will change.
The full Senate still has to act, but it is clear that on this foreign policy issue, many Republicans and Democrats are united. They want a tougher Reagan administration and a more racially sympathetic South African government. Phil Jones, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
The Nicaraguan government said today it had shot down 2 unidentified helicopters along its northern border with Honduras. The foreign ministry in Managua said the helicopters had entered from Honduras and were part of a Monday attack on a military post. No further details were given. U.S.-backed Nicaraguan rebels, or Contras, fighting the Sandinista regime, are based in Honduras and have made similar cross-border raids before. President Reagan is waging a tough campaign trying to win from Congress new U.S. funds for those rebels. The Senate and House are scheduled to take up the issue this week. In Oklahoma today, Mr. Reagan ridiculed Nicaraguan President Daniel Ortega.
Oh, of freedom. The little dictator went to Moscow in his green fatigues to receive a bear hug didn't forsake the doctrine of Lenin when he returned to the West and appeared in a two-piece suit. He made his choice long ago. History will not wait on us.
In an effort to put more pressure on Congress for contra-funding, the president charged that Nicaragua is receiving from Soviet bloc nations and Libya and Iran, quote, weapons and ammunition to establish a beachhead on our doorstep. The Nicaraguan Contras are just one of several anti-Soviet rebel groups receiving real or tacit support these days from the White House. In southern Angola this week, 4 of these rebel movements from 3 continents formed an alliance at a unique summit arranged by a lobbying group for President Reagan. Alan Pizzi was there.
The ammunition is live, the training is in deadly earnest. These guerrillas call themselves UNITA. Their enemy is the Cuban-backed government of Angola, which they see as a tool of Soviet expansionism. These American conservatives are trying to make UNITA an American tool of sorts by joining its firepower with other anti-Soviet guerrilla groups. Citizens for America has the blessing of the White House, but no official backing. The Americans brought guerrilla leaders from Nicaragua, Laos, and Afghanistan to UNITA's remote headquarters for a strategy session.
The Russians will never stop unless we stop them. The Russians will never stop unless we stop them.
Organizers handed out copies of the Declaration of Independence to stress their belief that American democracy is the way to victory. There was even a message of support from President Reagan, delivered by a New York millionaire.
Their goals are our goals. Good luck, and God bless you. Sincerely, President Ronald Reagan.
African bush warfare might mean little to Afghan mountain fighters, but a Cuban general UNITA once fought is now in Nicaragua.
We have fought the same enemy, we have known the same enemy, but we did not know each other until this opportunity.
The conference members signed an anti-Soviet communique and agreed to meet again. The Americans were all smiles, even though some senior State Department officials are known to be against their efforts. The unanswered question here is whether the impact of this new alliance will be felt on the battlefields of the anti-Soviet guerrilla movements or in the American political arena. Alan Pizzi, CBS News, Jamba, Southern Angola.
In an interview certain to create shockwaves throughout the Arab world, the Palestine Liberation Organization was said today to have given up on the idea of an independent Palestinian state. This surprising word came from Jordan's foreign minister. He told reporters in Washington that PLO leader Yasser Arafat had dropped this insistence as a necessary outcome of peace talks with Israel. Instead, the Jordanian official said there would be a local Palestinian government on the West Bank linked by confederation to Jordan.
Introducing a high-performance machine for your office. Canon's NP7550 copying system. 0 to 50 in 60 seconds flat. Automatically shifts to the right paper size. Zooms up and down. Does two-sided copying from two-sided originals and sorting all automatically. That's why Canon's NP7550 is the automatic choice. So step on it. You've got deadlines to meet. For information, call toll-free 1-800-OK-CANON.
They've just found Jordan innocent.
But the magazine's full.
We'll have to work fast. So, this I like. Very good. Thank you. Yeah, okay. Is Moss telephone? Oh, I can't take it.
Break away to High Point decaffeinated coffee. Break away to the smooth taste and relax. High Point gently removes not only caffeine, but also bitterness that can interrupt your coffee pleasure.
You made it.
Good.
Make the most of your relaxing moments with High Point decaffeinated coffee.
President Reagan's campaign-style trip to Oklahoma today was to speak up for Republican candidates and his version of tax reform, and it was also aimed at highlighting Oklahoma's relatively low state taxes and high-tech industries. Those are two categories that stand to be among the biggest beneficiaries of President Reagan's version of federal tax system overhaul. But Oklahoma is also a case in point for another highly controversial feature of Mr. Reagan's brand of tax reform: tax breaks for Oklahoma crude. Leslie Stahl looks at charges that oil and politics mix, and mix oh so well.
Oklahoma City, the home of the oil and gas industry. The president came for a political fundraiser, drawing in more than $500,000 for the Republican senator here. and he pitched his new tax plan.
I want to see our tax plan pass this year. Can we count on your support?
Relief in the nation's oil fields is spelled R-E-A-G-A-N. That's what the oil men say now that the president has decided to preserve many of their prized special tax breaks in his new package. The president touched base with another winner in his tax plan, the high-tech industry. He told an audience at an AT&T plant that his tax plan is pro-growth and pro-family.
This is your plan, and you can make it happen this year if you'll just tell those in Washington to get on board. And if they refuse, please tell them something else. Tell them to stand aside and get out of the way.
But it was his fundraising among the oil men that raised eyebrows back in Washington.
The oil industry got its tax breaks, and the president and people he's helping are going to get a whole lot of campaign money in return.
Energy experts say stimulating domestic production is the last thing the government should do in these times of an oil glut. The White House has been saying that breaks for the oil industry were retained not for political reasons, but for national security.
Any type of legislation that removes the incentive to invest in an oil well will eventually lead to more of a stranglehold by foreign nations on our energy sources.
The oil industry isn't gloating. In fact, their officials say the Reagan tax plan is inadequate for their needs. They plan to fight for even more breaks in the Congress. Leslie Stahl, CBS News, Oklahoma City.
Word from the Pentagon today that 3 of the suspects in the so-called Walker family spy ring case all held their top secret security clearances in the U.S. Navy without having those clearances reviewed every 5 years as required by the Pentagon. The Pentagon now says it doesn't have enough investigators to review the more than 400,000 people cleared for top secret material.
If I work this hard getting my outside fit, it makes sense to keep my inside fit too. So I help eat myself fit on the inside with Kellogg's Bran Flakes. They're loaded with fiber. That helps keep my inside running smooth. And Kellogg's Bran Flakes really taste good. No wonder they're America's favorite bran flake. So you take care of the outside, and Kellogg's Bran Flakes will help take care of the inside. Not a bad deal, huh?
The promise of America is opportunities, not guarantees. That challenge was seized by millions of immigrants who came to this country to build new lives and build the nation. Today, I still see enormous opportunities in the hundreds of small to mid-sized companies whose new ideas, new jobs, and new technologies will continue to build America. At First Jersey Securities, we specialize in discovering such emerging growth companies for today's investors with vision. First Jersey Securities, come grow with us.
Negotiations between United Airlines and its striking pilots were driven deeper into the ground today when the airline turned down a mediator's request to resume talks. Ned Potter reports.
Thanks, but no thanks is what the airline told the federal mediator. United flies on without any plan for talks with the striking pilots.
They haven't changed their position. They're just being vindictive.
They have no intention of resolving this issue shortly.
United says that's not true. It's already got what it wanted, an agreement that future pilots should make less money. The Pilots Association now is only trying to negotiate the fate of other employees who either crossed or honored the picket lines. And the airline says that's not a subject for discussion. But market analysts say it might actually be cheaper for United not to settle, to go through a year of losses, and then come back with a whole new corps of pilots at much lower wages.
If it's impossible to get that settlement, then we're going to be put in a position where we have to build the airline back block by block by block.
Actually, say researchers, United is doing what many corporations learned in recent years. Get tough with unions, prove to them that a strike is futile.
Unions have a very hard time striking when the company can offer jobs to the population and fill those jobs very readily.
Indeed, at its training center in Denver, United is running new hires through the simulators. Meanwhile, at Chicago, Los Angeles, and other United bases, pilots pacing the picket line say they'll just have to keep at it.
Well, it's pretty clear that basically they wanted to break the union, and why, I don't understand.
Will he succeed?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
But with the company refusing to talk, a striker says the whole situation is one big holding pattern. Ed Potter, CBS News, Chicago.
Another long and bitter strike that brought turbulence to all U.S. air traffic 4 years ago, Peter Van Sant tells us tonight, is at the heart of a new dispute now about air traffic safety nationwide and for years to come.
American 223, contact Atlanta Center 132.8.
The FAA says it has completely rebuilt the nation's air traffic control system since the 1981 PATCO strike, when 11,400 controllers, nearly 3/4 of the workforce, were fired.
I can tell you that the system is better today than it was before the 1981 strike.
But the system may be facing its most serious threat since the PATCO strike, the potential retirement of thousands of experienced controllers, the backbone of the rebuilt system. Of the 4,200 veteran controllers who stayed on during the strike, more than 1/3 have retired. And according to the FAA, nearly all of the remaining experienced controllers are eligible to retire this year.
It would mean that over the past 5 years, we've accomplished nothing. If they all would leave, it'd be, I don't even know what we would do.
To lose that amount of controls would be a serious threat to the safety of the air traffic control system.
The FAA doubts it will suffer a mass exodus of experienced controllers, but Congressman Guy Molinari, who has visited with controllers at 12 major centers, believes those eligible will head for the exits.
Morale is so bad, morale is so low, as soon as their day comes for retirement, they're going to be leaving.
The retirements couldn't come at a worse time. Traffic is at record levels.
River City 471, contact.
Bert Newsom is typical of the thousands of new controllers in the system. Newsom says the Atlanta Center becomes a madhouse during peak times and that controllers often team up to get by.
Eyes, that's all you're looking is extra pairs of eyes trying to tell you. People will be reaching over, telling you to watch these two and those two.
Inexperience may have contributed to a near disaster last March in Minneapolis. 2 DC-10s nearly collided after a ground controller with 3 years' experience allowed one plane to taxi across the runway while the other was taking off.
Power, you know what you just did?
65 heavy, yeah, roger, standby. Hold straight, everybody just hold your position.
It's incidents like that that are a real cause for concern, and they're going on with much more frequency today.
Critics say the best way to solve the experience problem is to hire back some of the fired PATCO controllers. But the FAA steadfastly refuses to do that, leaving a less experienced workforce to handle a growing number of flights. Peter Van Sant, CBS News, Atlanta.
Fiber is one of the things nature puts in food, and fiber is one of the things we take out. If we take out too much fiber, we may become irregular. That's why doctors recommend Metamucil more often than any other laxative. Metamucil is made from gentle grain fiber. Natural fiber your digestive system needs to work properly. In orange, regular, and delicious strawberry flavor, too. Metamucil, for the fiber you need every day.
AT&T is in customer satisfaction. Our people helped Pillsbury design a feedback line using AT&T 800 service.
Can I freeze the cupcakes? I can.
500 calls come in every day, which makes Pillsbury very happy because satisfied customers come back for more. We can help your business in ways you never thought of. AT&T long distance services, the better business machine. Talk with us. AT&T, the right choice.
At the conspiracy trial in the assassination attempt against the Pope, convicted terrorist Mehmet Ali Agca returned to the Rome courtroom today, a week after being dismissed because of rantings about being Jesus Christ. This time, in a dramatic contrast, he was all business, telling the chief judge how he bought the pistol from an Austrian arms dealer he said traveled often to the Soviet Union and Bulgaria. Toxic shock syndrome, first recognized within the last decade, it is a sometimes fatal ailment that's been the subject of international publicity and intense scientific study. But researchers didn't know how it got started in women who suffer the syndrome. Now, Lim Tucker reports, scientists believe they have the answer.
25-year-old Patricia Kim, the mother of two, died of toxic shock in 1980. From the beginning of the outbreak, which killed 114 women, scientists were convinced that tampon use had something to do with the sudden onrush of symptoms called toxic shock syndrome. But even though some products were recalled, it was not until now that scientists could say what the link was between tampons and toxic shock. Their explanation is this. Two of the fibers used in some of the super tampons acted like sponges, absorbing huge amounts of magnesium, which is part of the body's natural defense against infection. With this protection reduced, the bacteria normally found in every woman's body produced more of the chemical which led to toxic shock syndrome. The Harvard University researchers found that to be the case with Rely tampons, which were recalled in 1980, also with certain Playtex brands and Tampax Super Plus, which were recalled 2 months ago when these findings were given to company officials and to the Food and Drug Administration.
The presently available products, however, have not been associated with any excess risk.
Both the scientists and the companies involved say this information could help provide women with a new, highly absorbent tampon, which carries no increased risk. Lem Tucker, CBS News, Boston.
Best built. That's what a comprehensive survey of America's drivers said. They said it about Ford cars, Ford trucks, Lincolns, and Mercurys up to 3 years old. Best built. Owners reported fewer problems with Ford cars and trucks than those built by any other major U.S. manufacturer. Best built by Ford. That's quality you can feel. Because at Ford, quality is job one.
It's a great brand taste with a twist. Brand new Bran Muffin Crisp.
What's the twist? Now you can have the good things you get in a bran muffin in a crispy, good-tasting, high-fiber cereal. Bran Muffin Crisp.
Raisins and almonds you can't resist in new Bran Muffin Crisp.
Here's a cereal that has the high fiber you want with a taste you'll want more of.
Bran Muffin Crisp, huh? Nice twist.
The goodness of bran with a twist. Brand new Bran Muffin Crisp.
How can I paint my house to keep it from peeling and flaking?
Ask Sherwin-Williams.
How do I keep the windows from sticking after I paint?
Ask Sherwin-Williams.
Sherwin-Williams has the answers to your painting questions. Right now, Classic 99 matte flat interior paint is just $9.99 a gallon. A100 exterior flat just $10.99. Next time,
Ask Sherwin-Williams.
Child molestation often is called the country's most frequent, least understood crime. It's estimated as many as 1 out of 4 children might be affected. But Barry Peterson reports one casualty of that crime may be a society in which adult and child, even parent and child, become afraid to touch each other.
Count 2 little weebles swinging in a tree.
For 10 years, Rob Haggerty has worked with young children, most recently as a preschool teacher. He is quitting because now it is too dangerous to be a man who works with children.
I can't really work with a shadow hanging over me. At any point in time, I can be ruined because someone decides that they didn't like what I did.
It is the shadow of accusation, the potential of being called a child molester.
I do remind teachers, whether they be male or female, that they must monitor each other. Never before have I ever had to say that to my teachers.
Why do you think your mom gives you a
Because she loves me.
For young children, a hug is a simple necessity, but at daycare centers these days, not without a second thought.
It's sort of an instant. I mean, it just flows through your mind. How will someone interpret this?
Teachers are afraid to put their arm around a child. They're afraid to have physical contact. Someone will accuse me. There's a real witch hunt kind of hysteria that is developing.
Now don't tell anybody where I touched you. This film was made by the California Attorney General's office to explain that child care workers and others, such as police and doctors, are now required to report any suspected cases of child abuse.
Remember, a reasonable suspicion is all that's required.
You need not have proof.
As a society, we are more aware of child molesting. The experts say that is more ready to help children. But with that good has come the fear.
Grandfathers, maybe the granddaughter could sit on his lap a couple months ago. Now he has her stand by his side. And the problem with all of that is the kids are thinking they must have done something wrong.
It isn't daycare or at grandfather's house, but divorce court, where the very charge of child molesting has become most damaging. Accusations of child molestation are flooding divorce courts. By one estimate, 50 to 90% turn out to be false. But it's an effective weapon because a judge can consider that when it comes time to determine the custody of that most precious asset of all, the children.
When that's known to the parties, that's a poker chip that can be thrown on the table that suddenly changes the game.
It's easy to make allegations, and they're tough to prove wrong.
Ron Sherman was accused of molesting his own daughter, accused by his wife during a custody battle. The case cost him $10,000 in legal fees and kept him from seeing Heather during the 3-month investigation. It never made it to court.
Stay right here.
Well, come and catch me.
Now he faces the dilemma of those once accused and vindicated. Does he dare touch his daughter again?
You know, if it's illegal to touch my daughter or tuck her in or treat her like a father, you know, I guess I'm guilty.
Heather, a happy child, is now sometimes moody.
You have a good sleepy. Good night, babe.
The little 3-year-old, separated from her father for a time, interviewed by therapist and psychiatrist, has paid a price too. Barry Peterson, CBS News, San Jose, California.
And that's the CBS Evening News for this Wednesday. Dan Rather reporting from New York. Thank you for joining us. Good night.
Introducing your ultimate weapon against athlete's foot. New footwork.
The pain and itch of athlete's foot can drive you crazy. But now there's footwork.
Footwork works 2 ways. It cures the pain and itch of athlete's foot, then prevents its return.
Footwork, your ultimate weapon against athlete's foot.
Get new footwork now. Cures the pain and itch of athlete's foot, prevents its return.
When I get a headache, it rips through my head. I could take aspirin or Tylenol, but I don't. I choose Advil. Advil contains a non-prescription strength of ibuprofen. That's the medicine found in the prescription brand Motrin, and that's good. Just 1 Advil is as effective as 2 regular aspirin, yet gentler to the stomach than aspirin. If aspirin allergic, before taking Advil, ask your doctor. Advil, advanced medicine for pain.
Fleas and ticks are always on the attack, so it's important to have all the right weapons to protect your pet. That's what Hearts Care is all about. Hearts has a whole family of 2-in-1 products, like the famous Hearts 2-in-1 long-lasting collar. Now it kills fleas and ticks for 5 months, even when wet. And you'll love its low price. For extra protection, dust regularly with Hearts 2-in-1 flea and tick powder. Sprinkle where he sleeps, too. At Hearts, we give you a choice for complete flea and tick protection. That's Hearts Care. Everything good for your pet.
More talk with John Travolta and tips for teens looking for summer jobs tomorrow on the CBS Morning News. Watching in the first half hour of this program, we were having a rather lively discussion between Congressman William Gray in Washington and in South Africa, live via satellite, the deputy foreign minister. And at one point, the camera just sort of drifts off and then down. That only happens here when our cameramen have been out too late at night and come in a little sleepy. But we understand that that was a remote camera. There was no cameraman. It was remotes run by a control room 5 miles away, so the Parliament just outside Cape Town. So the poor deputy foreign minister was standing there. Nobody's around, and he sees this camera kind of go up and down. Finally, they controlled it by their computer system 5 miles away.
I was waiting for him to do one of those, you know, trying to follow the whole thing. That was it. Nobody there at all.
What we resort to, isn't that something?
That's right.
Boy, oh boy.
Well, I'm going to switch gears here for you. You know, most of the weather, the headlines have been in the south, and the heat in the southeast, and if it's not that, it is the rain in the southwest. You're looking at the Lubbock area, and it is too much rain. A lot of people are aware of the drought situation situation in the Northeast, in southern New England. You're wondering where all the rain is. Well, they've had 11 inches of rain in the last 36 hours around Lubbock. And conditions are really getting worse because it doesn't look like the rain is leaving that area, not
That'll
just
cool
yet.
things off, though, won't it?
That same rain is going to be moving into the southeast, cooling off most of that area. So the heat wave that you feel now in the deep south could be ending by the weekend. But you can see the clouds representing where most of the thunderstorms are this morning, kind of moving away from the Lubbock area. But some very heavy thunderstorms expected this afternoon across Arkansas, Missouri, and through eastern Kansas and Oklahoma. The east clearing out in most of the Ohio Valley, maybe some scattered showers around that front. The western story, it could be part two all over again because the heat is back in the southern plateau. You're going to feel that maybe by the next 48 hours or so, things starting to warm up across Arizona and New Mexico. A nice afternoon in Los Angeles, but it's a sign that it's getting warmer. 82 degrees there today and 84 degrees in Denver later on today and 78 degrees around Boise. Light rain showers. It could turn steadier by the end of Thursday afternoon. Most of the heavy rain could be clearing out of the Great Lakes. If you remember last weekend, the thunderstorms and severe tornadoes moving through the eastern lakes, all of that is passing by, clearing skies, nice weather. Could be some soaking rain moving into the Northeast because of all those dry conditions. That is welcome. That is a look at all the weather. Here's a look at some temperatures and forecasts for some locations around the nation.
The forecast for the Channel 2 area: morning clouds, afternoon sunshine, temperatures in the low 70s. Tonight clear, 55 to 60. Tomorrow 70 to 75 degrees with sunny skies.
Much more on today and how this week is expected to end in the next hour.
Boston researchers now say they've pinpointed the cause of toxic shock syndrome in menstruating women who use tampons. Toxic shock became a national concern in 1980 when hundreds of cases were linked to the use of tampons, particularly the Rely brand. Rely was pulled from the market, but our medical reporter, Dr. Robert Arnott, tells us that the illnesses and deaths have continued. Good morning, Bob.
Good morning, Maria.
This is a big finding.
Well, it's a problem that really hasn't gone away. It was here before Rely ever went on the market, and it's still very much with us today. Now, the disease itself can kill. The symptoms include a very high fever, which is unusual in adults, a drop in blood pressure, which often manifests itself as fainting when you stand or try and sit up, or near fainting. It's followed after several days by a sunburn-like rash. Now, the figures show a sharp decline in toxic shock cases and deaths from 1980 to 1981 and continuing into 82 and 83. But government officials say that much of that drop is due to substantial underreporting. It's just a big hassle for many doctors to fill out the forms and make all the phone calls, and that women changed their use of tampons. They stopped using them or used napkins. So taking Rely off the shelves was not the only reason for the decrease of toxic shock syndrome. In fact, in some states that aggressively sought reports on new cases, there was an increase in cases in 1982 over 1980. It's simply a problem that hasn't gone away.
Tampons have been sold since the mid-1930s. In those days, they were made of cotton and later cotton mixed with rayon. In the late 1970s, a mysterious and sometimes fatal syndrome, toxic shock, was reported with alarming frequency at the same time that new superabsorbent tampons came on the market. In 1980, researchers had directly related toxic shock syndrome to the superabsorbency tampons and had singled out one, Rely. Rely had been enormously successful, capturing 50% of the tampon market, since its high absorbency meant fewer, smaller tampons were required during menstruation. It contained polyester foam responsible for its increased absorbency, but researchers yesterday revealed why polyester foam and rayon polyacrylate used in other tampons increased the risk of toxic shock syndrome. The staph bacteria is present normally in the vaginal cavity of nearly a quarter of all women. Staph produces a highly poisonous toxin labeled TSST1, which is regulated by magnesium levels. Less magnesium, more toxin, from 6 to 100 times normal. During heavy menstrual flow, there is ample magnesium in the vaginal cavity. The two materials, polyester foam, contained in Rely, and rayon polyacrylate, formerly contained in regular, Super, and Super Plus Playtex tampons and Tampax Super Plus tampons, lower magnesium levels. By decreasing levels of magnesium, the toxin production increases dramatically, which can cause shock and even death. Again, the signs begin abruptly with high fever, a drop in blood pressure, and followed in several days by a sunburn-like rash. Other symptoms sometimes include nausea, vomiting, watery diarrhea, and severe muscle aches. Recognizing symptoms and early treatment lowers the risk of death.
Researchers hope that tampons without polyacrylate or polyester foam and perhaps treated with magnesium will end the risk of toxic shock syndrome from tampon use.
But what about the tampons on the market today? Should women really use them? Are they safe?
Well, researchers now say that the tampons on the market have no increased risk of this toxic shock syndrome. However, the current research was done in a test tube. It's been enough for manufacturers to say, let's take it off the market. But until we see figures in another year with a dramatic drop in toxic shock syndrome deaths and illnesses, we really won't know.
People should still be aware. One other question. I've read in the past about men actually contacting this disease.
Well, in 1982, over 22% of those people who had the syndrome were men, women who weren't menstruating, the young, the old. And unfortunately here we have absolutely no idea what causes it. We do know that 95% of the population has a natural immunity, 5% doesn't, and they are at risk.
So more research still to come.
Yes.
Thanks a lot, Bob. It's now 15 before the hour. There's a lot more to come on the CBS Morning News, so we hope you'll stay with us.
And next, we'll meet actress Angelica Houston. This portion of the CBS Morning News is sponsored by U-Haul, now where you can rent almost everything for home, work, and play.
Came to this U-Haul Center to rent a paint sprayer. I can paint the house and still go fishing.
I didn't know U-Haul rented lawnmowers, tillers, cement
Sure.
mixers.
Now U-Haul Centers rent almost everything for home,
Floor care,
work,
plumbing,
and play.
VCRs and movies.
Now U-Haul even rents motorhomes, camping trailers, and boats. Perfect for my fishing trip.
Honey, after you finish painting, let's go catch some big ones.
Thanks, U-Haul.
Now, a new definition of quality and performance. The new Norelco electronic rotor track with the fastest, longest-lasting charge of any leading razor. Inside 3 floating heads is a patented lift and cut shaving system, guaranteed to shave you fast, clean, razor blade close, without a nick or cut or your money back. That's quality. That's the new electronic rotor track.
Norelco, we put quality first.
My most embarrassing moment with my dentures? My graduation day last June. When I went up for my diploma, I sneezed. I thought I'd lost my upper plate. Then I discovered a new denture adhesive, new improved Super Poly Grip.
See for yourself. New Super Poly Grip has improved holding power. We improve the grip to give you more confidence.
Even when I sneeze.
New improved Super Poly Grip. We improve the grip to give you more confidence.
Sometimes you wonder if a man was built to work so hard. Your muscles get stiff, sore. You need the strong sore muscle medicine. Absorbine Junior penetrates fast. Absorbine Junior penetrates deep with soothing warmth. Absorbine Junior loosens stiff, sore muscles so you can get back to work. When you feel you're carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders, get the strong sore muscle medicine. Absorbine Junior.
Do what? Do I ice her? Do I marry her? Which one of these?
Marry her, Charlie. Just because she's a thief and a hitter doesn't mean she's not a good woman in all the other departments. If she was some kind of fashion model, it wouldn't last more than 30 days.
Meet actress Angelica Houston, who has a real family connection in this film about family loyalty in the mafia called Prizzi's Honor. She plays the granddaughter of a mafia don, and she is actually the daughter of the film's director, John Huston, as well as the real-life love interest of co-star Jack Nicholson. Angelica Houston, here to tell us all about it. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
What a combination. The three of you together, finally, all over again. That must have been quite a working relationship. Did you get along well?
Oh, we had a wonderful time on this movie. It was just great.
Now, you don't talk with a Brooklynese accent. Between us, how did you prepare?
Well, I don't know. It's possible.
Oh,
we could talk this way all night.
How did you get ready for this role?
Well, we were lucky enough to have Julie Bavasso, who played John Travolta's mother in Saturday Night Fever, as our dialogue coach. So between Julie and sort of generally hanging around Brooklyn and eating a lot of pasta in restaurants and speaking Brooklynese among ourselves.
That was it.
Yeah.
Jane Fonda got such a kick in Golden Pond when she worked with her dad. How about you? Learn anything new in this one? Was he gentle with you?
Yeah, he was wonderful. He commands a good deal of respect on a set, and you don't walk on a Houston set unprepared. So just so long as you know your lines and you don't trip over the furniture.
Well, did he try to make you change the way you were playing the role?
No, he seemed to like what I was doing, which was fine by me.
Oh, I'll bet. Were you nervous or more nervous having Jack there or John?
I can't say that I was really nervous about either of them. They were extremely supportive, and it's wonderful to be in that position. I mean, one feels very protected. One knows that one's not going to be stabbed in the back.
At least. That's the least you could expect. I think that would be a great experience.
Yeah, it was wonderful.
Can you look inside them from just a bit and give us sort of the secret of John Huston? What is his strength?
I think interest is his ruling strength. He's, not particularly young anymore, but he has the mind of an extremely young man, and a constant joie de vivre and love of life. And
they say this movie is as good as anything he has done in a long time.
I think it's just wonderful. It harkens back to early movies like Beat the Devil. It has a wonderful pace and a lot of action.
Now, the Don families wanted you to marry Jack Nicholson.
Well, yes, I was intended, but I transgressed.
Something happened
early in our
the way,
relationship.
and hence we have a motion picture that we can go and see.
Right.
Well, thank you for being with us. Welcome back to the screen.
Thank
we
you very
wish you the
much.
best of luck. You look great, and you sound great in any accent.
Thank you
We'll
very much.
continue in a moment. We have some toys coming up. It's 9 before the hour. That's very good.
That's right. Coming up, the talking bears, and aren't they cute?
Fleas and ticks are always on the attack, so it's important to have all the right weapons to protect your pet. That's what Hearts Care is all about. Hearts has a whole family of 2-in-1 products, like the famous Hearts 2-in-1 long-lasting collar. Now it kills fleas and ticks for 5 months, even when wet. And you'll love its low price. For extra protection, spray regularly with Hearts 2-in-1 flea and tick spray. In aerosol or pump, deodorizes too. At Hearts, we give you a choice for complete flea and tick protection. That's Hearts Care, everything good for your pet.
There is no sun like the sun of Colombia. It shines on our land with special intensity and for just the right number of days to give our coffee a special richness. Here, men such as Juan Valdez handpick their coffee with pride. There is no other coffee like the 100% Colombian. And when we put these words on the package, we are bringing you the richest coffee in the world.
You know, Connie, this campaign's impressive. Campaign impressions?
No, Ace Best Buys of the month.
Could you make that perfectly clear?
Sure. This Gilmore Turret Sprinkler is a June Best Buy. It has 5 different spray settings for only $3.33.
Tricky. But where's the hose?
Our 5/8-inch, 80-foot reinforced hose is Best Buy priced at only $8.99.
Well, that's just peanuts.
Wind it up on the Ames hose reel. Another Best Buy at only $9.88.
Well, there they go again. Ace is the place with a helpful hardware man.
Help take care of the inside. Not a bad deal, huh?
What did he say? He said you were chubby. Can you part your legs? I want the edgy bear.
Those kids are playing with the cuddly new inventions of the man who invented the video game. We have Nolan Bushnell here. He dreamt up Pong and he founded Atari and is out to once again change the way America plays. Morning.
Good morning. How you doing?
I don't, where should we start? The whole you got the drift of that. I don't. Was it something I said? Don't leave. Nolan, what's happening here?
Well, what we have is an electronic animal. We started out with a cat, and we'll have dogs and that sort of thing as well. But the whole idea is we want to have something that people in an apartment or who have different lifestyles can have an animal without all the problems of kitty litter.
I love it. The way this works is each time you command it with one clap, will do what?
Brings you towards the sound. Mm-hmm. 2 claps will send it away, and then you can say there's some game playing modes as well. Come on, Kitty.
I love it. Now, he is not available yet, right, on the market?
We're shipping now. They'll be in the stores in about a month.
You know, this is a sneaky way for me to get applause. That's what I'm up to. Now, there was something that we saw on the tape that, now, there was one little kid who saw this bear. Will you let me finish? And who said, where's the gizmo? Okay. Will you let me talk?
AG, we love you too. Yeah, okay.
AG Bear is the name of this one. Now, AG works a little differently. Now, this is all by voice command, is it right?
That's correct. He actually listens to what you say and then gives back a very sympathetic response. We want him to be a very, very friendly, lovable bear. Yes, AG, we love you. Oh. He says thank you.
That's exactly how I felt this morning. Now, the kids actually, they really get into this and know what the bear is saying in a sense because it's almost like a real playmate.
Well, it's something where the child's imagination really is an overlay of the emotional content of what the bear says.
Well, I don't think we have really answered the question, how does this work? How in the world do you get this to do what it's doing?
Well, I guess the best way to talk about it is, let me show you a little bit. I don't know, can you guys see this? These are microchips, and it's the same kind of guts that are in the computer.
Uh-huh.
And they make him think and
now you can actually point those out for us if you
Sure.
want.
Well, this is the brain.
Yeah.
This is the memory, and this controls his muscles. So it's
Now, the next question would be why? Now, that is probably worth a whole lot, the billion-dollar industry of computers and high tech, and you're using it for a toy. I mean,
I think it's the one of the appropriate things. We wanted to always sort of create life, and we're doing that.
Well, there's one thing I want people to see with it before we leave. It's called the SOS Bear, and this is one I guess could be a mother's helper as well as a toy for the child.
What this is you can put this on your child's back, and he has a little transmitter inside him.
Yeah.
And there's another little device that the mother puts in her purse or the father in his pocket.
Mm-hmm.
And if the child and the adult are separated by more than 50 feet, then the bear goes off or an alarm is sounded, or if the child falls in water.
So that way that child is not lost.
Exactly.
I know, we've got to go. I know. The hour's almost up. Nolan, I thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
I'm going to throw it back to Bill. Is that okay? I think he agrees.
Thank you, Steve. He does the weather just fine. I think he talks in a language only children can understand.
I tell you, I am glad I did not have a bear that said, "You are chubby."
We get another bear. I'll take the cat. How's that? Tips coming up on getting summer jobs for teens. The complete guide to packing for your summer trip. We'll be back.
Keeping you informed, bringing you fair, accurate news. For Dan Rather, it's more than a job, it's his responsibility. For the news you can trust, turn to the experience you'll find every weeknight on the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather. When it's important, America turns to CBS News.
Weekdays on CBS.
These are glowing?
Yes! You got it. Starting with Dick Clark and the $25,000 pyramid. Plus, there are winners.
$5,000!
And there are whammies. When you press your luck, then Bob Barker.
Come on down!
The Price is Right. Watch America win weekday.
This is CBS.
There's never been a better time to buy carpet than right now at Kaufman. Because Friday and Saturday, Kaufman has reduced 12 choice broadlooms to sell for $8.88 installed. You'll find Saxonies, plushes, carveds, and velvets, the latest styles in over 100 decorator colors, and each price includes insulation over rubber padding. Don't let time pass you by. Come to Kaufman's this Friday and Saturday for these great carpet values. But hurry, at these prices, they'll sell out fast.
Here in the stretch, Secretariat has opened a 22-length lead.
This Tiffany bowl was made for the Belmont Stakes champion. It's priceless, and so is the honor of winning it.
Affirm to rally there. It's apart. Affirm's got a nose in front as they come onto the wire.
Their names read like royalty.
It's Seattle Slew in the stretch. Here he comes, and he's opening it up again.
Saturday, June 8th, the Belmont Stakes. It's more than a great race. It's a great tradition.
Boys, it's time for dear old mom to tie on her apron and develop a new snack. A snack that's 100% natural, like grapes. A snack that's bite-sized.
Like grapes?
A snack in various flavors.
Like grapes.
Low in sodium, low in calories.
Like grapes.
A snack in a convenient package. A snack that tastes as good as...
Grapes.
Whoever invented grapes must have been a genius.
The Working Woman, tonight at 10.
Good morning. I'm Bill Curtis. We got ahead of ourselves, Sarah.
And I'm Maria Shriver. Good morning. Well, if your teenager is looking for a summer job, you'll hear some valuable advice in our spotlight this hour. And Dr. Isidore Rosenfeld reports on the occurrence of tuberculosis among the elderly.
Also, John Travolta, who is one of the best-known members of the Church of Scientology, talks with Pat Collins about his beliefs. That interview coming up in about a half an hour. And Dina Kay is going to help us out this morning doing some packing. Some tips on what to take along on vacation and someone to carry all the trunks. Not really. She uses only carry-on luggage. Can you imagine?
That's very smart.
We'll hear more about that. It's Thursday, June 6th. This is the CBS Morning News. In the news this morning, taxes, politics, religion, Nicaragua, all major subjects for President Reagan as he completes a two-day speech-making swing in the South today. Jacqueline Adams reports.
President Reagan is in the South to sell his tax reform plan and to raise money for Republican senatorial candidates. But on the eve of today's scheduled Senate vote to send $32 million to the rebels fighting in Nicaragua, the president went on the offensive.
This is a matter of the freedom of our friends and neighbors and the security of our country. We cannot and will not permit the communists to impose their will on the people of Central America.
White House aides insist the U.S. will never invade Nicaragua. But the president yesterday said the communist threat there is so severe, the U.S. must support those fighting against it.
Congress can no longer ignore the obvious. The Soviet bloc nations and their terrorist allies are pouring in weapons and ammunition to establish a beachhead on our own doorstep.
The president ridiculed Nicaragua's leader, Daniel Ortega.
The little dictator who went to Moscow in his green fatigues to receive a bear hug didn't forsake the doctrine of Lenin when he returned to the West and appeared in a two-piece suit.
The president campaigns today in Alabama. Despite Tuesday's Supreme Court decision allowing silent meditation in schools, aides say Mr. Reagan will renew his appeal for prayer in schools. Jacqueline Adams, CBS News with the president in Atlanta.
The Senate last night voted 92-3 to pass a record defense bill. It provides almost $231 billion of the $302 billion fiscal 86 budget for the Pentagon. The rest of that money will come from separate military pay and construction bills. The Senate also voted 90-5, calling on President Reagan to continue compliance with the SALT II treaty. Two former bellhops charged with the selling of cocaine to David Kennedy before he died of an overdose last year have backed out of a plea bargain with prosecutors. Peter Marchant and co-defendant David Dorr have decided to take their case to a jury, even though a conviction could get them each 20 years in prison. The arranged plea bargain would have put them on probation. In India, thousands of Sikhs rallied against the government at their holiest shrine today, the Golden Temple in Amritsar. A year ago, 500 people from the radical sect died when army troops stormed the temple. Today, security was heavy. There were no reports of violence. The House has passed by a large majority a series of strong economic sanctions against the government of South Africa. The move is intended as a signal of dissatisfaction with the South African system of apartheid. But will the sanctions affect change, or will they only serve to harm South Africa's economy? The Deputy Foreign Minister of South Africa says they will do only harm, but a sponsor of the bill disagrees.
My legislation will not affect one existing job. It simply cuts off future financing of apartheid from the United States. And it also misses the argument when you say it's going to have a bad economic effect upon the majority. The issue is not unemployment or the loss of jobs. The issue is the loss of life and justice.
Any prohibition on economic growth in a situation where you have a population growth is, to my mind, immoral, completely immoral, is evil.
The vote passed the House by a 295 to 127 margin. Meanwhile, rebels in Angola are waging a daily battle against the Cuban-backed communist troops in that country, and now an American group would like to recognize these rebel fighters and unite them with other anti-communist fighters worldwide. Alan Pizzi reports on the unusual summit meeting.
These guerrillas are training with live ammunition to carry on a war they have been waging for 10 years. Members of the UNITA movement, their enemy is the Cuban-backed government of Angola, which they see as the cutting edge of Soviet expansionism in southern Africa. Until now, theirs has been a lonely fight. But a group of conservative Americans called Citizens for America, which is supported by the White House, is attempting to link them with other anti-Soviet resistance groups around the world. Rebel leaders from movements in Nicaragua, Laos, and Afghanistan came to UNITA's headquarters to form a new alliance. The Americans claim it is the first attempt by anti-Marxists to cooperate across international borders the way Soviet-sponsored groups do. Initially, the groups will exchange information on tactics.
But let us say, when you have a political alliance, all other ways of cooperation are possible.
UNITA is probably the best equipped and organized of all the groups represented. Backed by South Africa and conservative Arab and Black African states, it ties up the Angolan army and an estimated 30,000 Cuban troops. The new alliance is unlikely to bring UNITA's war, or those of the other movements, to a quick end. But the conservative Americans say a significant step has been taken in strengthening their side. Alan Pizzi, CBS News, Jemba, Southern Angola.
That brings us up to date. It is 6 after the hour.
In our spotlight, the summer job outlook for young adults.
For years, two institutions have been most responsible for New York's weather: Frank Field and Mother Nature. Channel 2 News, because anything can happen in New York.
What's behind some of New York's most beautiful homes? What's behind the houses that quite honestly make us green with envy? Well, their beautiful backyards come from ours. We're the backyard store at Fortunoff, and we've just received a truly outstanding new shipment of outdoor furniture. The values are exciting, the styles are exciting, and our exterior decorators are ready to turn your piece of real estate into a real estate. The backyard store at Fortunoff, the exterior decorators.
Working women, it's time to give each other a hand and make positive change. Call the North Ward Center and reach out.
I'm John Cullum. I'm Ron Liebman. I'm Austin Pendleton. I'm Tony Roberts.
See them in Doubles, Broadway's funniest new comedy in years.
The time now, 8 minutes past the hour.
We'll keep the bears quiet over in the background. You have a dishonor roll of high temperatures across the country.
You know, the South is really on a roll of record-breaking temperatures. Not only yesterday, this is the 5th day in a row for some communities. To give you a real, for instance, in all of this, in Tampa, Florida, goes back to 1943, the hottest, not only for that day, you have to search back for records ever kept, not only in June, July, and August.
Make them up.
It was 99 degrees yesterday in Tampa. We thought we were going to have these on a roll for you just to see them all, but I'll only give you a few of them. There you can see them. Macon, Georgia, 100 degrees. Columbus 1948 was the last time it was that warm on a June 5th in Columbus. Anybody who's headed for Florida, you're going to find it at least 98 degrees like Fort Myers. And that heat's going to be around for another day. There's rain just to the west of that area, but maybe by the weekend, all that'll be broken. So as we take a look at what you can expect today, you're going to get a sense of what's coming in your direction. 80-degree weather and beautiful through the Central Plains, but some rain and thunderstorms in eastern Texas and Oklahoma. That's part of the rain that's going to wash some of those 100-degree readings away. Now, at the same time, the whole thing is starting again in the southern plateau across Arizona and Southern California. Watch out. The heat will be on in that direction. 70s and kind of cool and damp across Montana, maybe portions of North and South Dakota this afternoon, and only little pockets of a drizzle and light showers in Northern California. 82 degrees today for Los Angeles, 84 for Denver. What is going on up in New England? Well, if you remember the showers that were around yesterday, they're all moving slowly out of Maine by the end of this afternoon or evening. Beautiful conditions and not anything like it was last weekend for the Eastern Lakes or Western Pennsylvania and New York, and that is real good news. That's a look at all the weather. Here's a look at some temperatures and forecasts for some locations around the nation.
The forecast for the Channel 2 area: morning clouds, afternoon sunshine, temperatures in the low 70s. Tonight clear, 55 to 60. Tomorrow, 70 to 75 degrees with sunny skies.
What's the weekend going to be like? I'll cover that too in the next half hour.
Lines are already forming as young people across the country hunt for that perfect summer job. With high schools and colleges letting out for vacation break, we wanted to check out the job scene and get a few pointers for the job seeker in your family. To help us, we've asked Phyllis Wallace to join us at our Chicago bureau. She's director of summer youth programs at the National YMCA. Barbara Lutz is with us in Dallas. She is director of student employment at the University of Texas at Arlington. And Brett Kingstone is in Denver. He's going to give us some ideas about starting your own business. He's already launched 2 businesses after writing a book on how to be a student entrepreneur. He's been busy. Good morning to all of you, and thank you for joining us. Let me begin with you, Phyllis. As we mentioned, the summer is upon us. There are jobs available. How should a student go about getting one?
Well, the first thing a student should do is recognize that the YMCA is a major employer of youth. We, in fact, employ thousands of young people in our local associations in various job categories. For example, camp counselors, lifeguards, daycare aides, coaches, secretaries. And to recognize that this organization is taking a leading and leadership role related to that specific area.
So in addition to contacting the YMCA, should they go to local government, local businesses, send out resumes?
Well, in fact, getting a job is a job. And every avenue that's available for making contact with the business community, with the public sector, as well as the private sector, would be advantageous if, in fact, you want to get a job this summer. One of the interesting directions that the federal government is going in with the new federally funded Job Training Partnership Act is to move toward the involvement of the corporate sector and the private sector. So we in the YMCA, as well as many other companies, are looking for corporations to provide the job placements as well as the leadership related to employment.
Barbara, what direction are you giving students you work with, and what kind of money can these students expect to earn over the summer?
We have seen a really dramatic increase in the amount of jobs that are available, as well as a substantial increase in the amount of money that students can be earning, particularly with college students and those high school or college-bound students. The cost of education is increasing to such a point that the self-help component in terms of earning your own money for your education is very, very important, and many employers are willing to help with that process by providing some very high-quality jobs, not just your entry level, but if a student shows a great deal of potential, they're willing to work with them and encourage them to not only get into college, but to stay in school, to learn those basic theories that they in turn then can apply in a practical way in the business world.
Now, Barbara, excuse me, I'm sorry. There are some businessmen and businesswomen who are still reluctant to hire kids in school, teenagers. Give me a convincing argument that would change their mind.
Pretty basically, the students, the youth that I have worked with over the last 13 years, I've seen a dramatic maturity, a real awareness, a more determination to find out who I am, what I can do, where I can market my skills, how I can be a more productive person. I think the youth of today are far more informed and they're far more motivated and enthusiastic, at least many of the students that I've worked with. And I encourage other parents and educators to encourage that kind of enthusiasm.
Let me go to Brett. You said that even if these people, businessmen and businesswomen, won't hire the youth of today, you should just go out and start your own business. Tell me how you do that.
Well, starting your own company for summer jobs, really not for everyone. But for those students who are interested, there are plenty of opportunities during the summer where there's more work in that area, such as swimming pool service, moving and storage, a lot of people moving, boat cleaning, car washing, lawn care, that create a lot of opportunities for young people to start their own companies.
Can they, excuse me, go ahead.
Sure. Well, certainly there's an opportunity that if they're successful, they'll make quite a bit more than they'll make turning over hamburgers at McDonald's. But again, there's the risk that if they're not successful, there's no guarantee of the minimum wage.
Can these businesses that they start in their own neighborhoods actually lead on to a career?
Well, in one case it did, with a fellow named Ethan Margalith, who was a student at UCLA, and at 17 he started starving students moving and storage, which is pretty famous in California. He rented, well, actually he bought a broken down Army surplus truck and started a moving service with a few high school and college friends. And that eventually grew into a $3 million business. And he's still a student and still running the company. He has a lot of people running it for him while he's a student at Loyola Law School in California.
So be creative and look around your neighborhood. Back to you, Phyllis.
Yes.
We've seen that there are more jobs available. There are, in fact, less teenagers around to get these jobs. But minorities who often need these jobs for economic reasons are having more difficulty than ever. What advice, what hope can you give these students?
Well, I think with the decrease of funding that we have in the federal programs, it's put a tremendous amount of pressure on social service agencies and the private sector to work together in partnerships in order to provide the experiences that they've had in the past under federal programs. I think encouragement for youngsters that are living in the minority communities, many programs are still looking for ways in which they can help a youngster understand the pre-employment skills. Okay. They're looking at ways in which they can work on developing their good work habits.
Well, thank you all very much for joining us, and I'm sure you've given hope to a lot of students and to parents around the country that there are still jobs available. I hope my 19-year-old brother was listening. It's now 16 after the hour, and there's a lot more to come, so we hope you'll stay with us.
Next, Dina Kay shows us what to take and what to leave behind on your next vacation.
It's the biggest sale you've ever seen, and it happens every weekend at the Avenue I Flea Market, the world's largest indoor flea market. 600 vendors offer name-brand clothes, small appliances, and much more at prices you never thought possible. Why pay store prices? Get fabulous bargains this weekend, every weekend at the Avenue I Flea Market, Avenue I and McDonald Avenue, Brooklyn.
Avenue I Flea Market is giving away free color TVs this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Come in for your free entry blank. No purchase necessary.
If you own a business that's on the grow, WCBS TV thinks you should know about First Step, the guide for first-time television advertisers. Whether your business is large or small, a product or a service, with a big budget or a little one, First Step can work for you. So if your business is ready to take the first step, let us help. Contact your advertising agency or call 975-3367. Ask for WCBS TV's First Step Guide. It could be the step which separates you from the competition.
You know, every time I buy delicious LaSalle all-natural ice cream, it reminds me of the days when ice cream was affordable, like when I used to go to Grandma's and make her homemade sundaes disappear. So rich and creamy, like this modern masterpiece with LaSalle ice cream, all-natural butter pecan, heavenly hash, and chocolate chip. I'll bet Grandma would love it. LaSalle all-natural ice cream. We value good taste.
Sumo, the sport of emperors. Sumo, the art of strength. Sumo, for the first time in history, the national sport of Japan in America at Madison Square Garden for 3 days only, June 14th, 15th, 16th. Sumo, the biggest thing to ever hit New York. For tickets, call Ticket World 1-800-682-8080 or Madison Square Garden 212-564-4400.
Time now, 18 minutes past the hour.
It's a good bet that most people start their vacations by staring into an empty suitcase and having a big pack attack, wondering what to pack and what to leave in the closet, I guess. Well, before you take a thing, take a few minutes and listen to our travel expert, Dina Kay. Maria is joining us as an expert witness. She can confirm everything. Why is it so hard to decide?
Because the first thing you do is you look in your closet, you have nothing to wear, so you rush out, you buy totally new wardrobe that you never can wear, like taking a ball gown to Hawaii.
Which is a little crazy.
Just lots of decisions you have to make because you want to look great and you don't want anything to wrinkle.
And when you're going to spend all the time on the beach, when should you start planning?
Believe it or not, you should start planning at least a week in advance. That way you can go to the laundry, you can. If you organize things really well before you go, then you don't have the last minute panic the night before you leave. I don't have anything to wear panic.
Well, this is your closet, right?
This
sort of a
is
typical
a
look.
peek into my
very
personal life here. I know, never as neat as home, though.
And you try and take all these things.
The trick is, and I tend not to overpack, you want to take clothes that are color coordinated. Pick any basic color you like. For me, it's these kind of blue colors. This is a suede skirt. Suede, by the way, is a great fabric because in
Doesn't
summer,
wrinkle.
Doesn't wrinkle,
Right.
it can be cool. Here are 4
Knits,
sweaters that can go with these 2 pants, and this is a great plastic bag because when you pack, you have to think about unpacking. You know, when you get to a hotel, you spend a half an hour unpacking, arranging. This way, you just throw the whole thing, you'll throw the whole thing
That's
into
what
the
I like.
drawer.
I'm curious, though, Dina, if you're going to somewhere like Hawaii, but you're also going to a city, you need 2 different kinds of wardrobes. Are there things that work for both places?
Absolutely, and the whole trick there is just to dress in layers. You know,
So you
long underwear,
take one off and go to the-
long underwear,
go
then
to the
take your
mall
bathing
and then-
suit to the beach. This is a terrific thing to take. It's a jumpsuit, and as you can see, it's got an expandable waist,
Ooh.
so that when you're eating a lot, when you travel, you hide everything. And plus, for traveling, you're all tucked in, as it were.
As Joan Rivers would say, a stretch caftan. That's what I need.
But now, Bill had mentioned earlier that you actually suggest to take just travel-on luggage. Is that true? Can you get all this in travel-on
I
luggage?
only take carry-on luggage, absolutely, because you never have a problem with losing it, and when you come home, you don't have to wait to go through customs. There are a couple of things that I do overpack. One is, this is totally personal, my underwear, because I cannot bear walking into the bathroom and seeing the pantyhose and the things hanging over the towel rack. And if you're traveling with somebody, they appreciate that. The other thing I overpack is medicines. It weighs a ton, but God forbid you wake up in the middle of the night with some dread disease that you get when you're traveling, and you don't have anything right handy.
The travel iron. Everybody I know has given me a travel iron.
Have you ever used it?
I've never used it.
Never used it. There are a few things that you never, ever use. One is a travel iron. I also never hang things up in the bathroom to steam because I forget and the bathroom floods and whatnot. You never take a huge travel purse like this because really you can put your groceries in here. You just tend to fill it up. What you need to do is take something terribly practical like this that's lightweight and has a shoulder strap. The other thing you never ever take with you is brand new shoes. These are new, never worn, the price tag's still on them. Also, this is not good for walking around Holland with all the cobblestones. You want comfortable.
You'll be visiting a foot
comfortable
doctor.
shoes. The other thing you never ever take with you is something that is not you. Now, is this me? This is Miss Star Trek. Mrs. Spock. I would never wear this. So you never want to be somebody who you aren't on a trip. The whole idea is you want to take clothes you feel good in, that are easy to maintain, so you don't have to think about anything but having a good time.
And especially for all those people who are going to Europe, try and take those little converters, because a lot of friends that I know who happen to go to Europe with us blew out for all time their hair dryers, didn't they?
I have
When
one
they
quick
plug
little
things
tip
in.
since I travel so much. I always write a list. I keep a list of things you have to take on every trip, and then I just check them off as I pack, and it works every time.
Why don't we cover that next week? Maria Schreiber. Thank you, Dina Kay. Have a good trip. I know
Thank
you're
you.
headed to London.
Thank you.
We'll be back 23 after.
That's great.
John Travolta talks about his church in our next half hour.
It's been something I can depend on.
Come and meet the dancing feet of the Broadway smash 42nd Street. David Merrick's Song and Dance Extravaganza at the Majestic Theater.
We're in the money. We've got a lot of what it takes to get along. We're in the money. Come on along and listen to the lullaby of
Call Telecharge 239-6200 for tickets.
42nd Street.
Have you ever dreamed of having more beautiful eyes, a more beautiful nose? We understand how important they are in the way you look and feel. If they're a problem, cosmetic surgery performed by eminently qualified, board-certified surgeons can help. Routine and office procedures performed by specialists can change the way you see the world and the way the world sees you. For a free consultation, call the Surgeons Guild, 212 249-7100.
Time now, 23 minutes after the hour.
Well, they call him the Kid in the United States, but now the Kid, also known as Steve Coughlin, is a giant in the racing world. He became the first American jockey to win the Epsom Derby in 78 years. It was the 206th running of the British Classic. Coughlin rode the 9-4 favorite Slip Anchor to victory, 7 lengths ahead of the nearest competitor. And there he is on his way to the winner's circle.
We were all proud of him when he started out. Literally, as a kid, he has grown up and still winning.
Still winning. That's the bottom line. Yeah. We have a lot more to come on the morning news. We'll hear from John Travolta about his support for the controversial Church of Scientology. And Dr. Rosenfeld answers some questions about tuberculosis in nursing homes. All of that when we come back.
From Channel 2 News, The Morning Report, sponsored by Anchor Savings Bank, member FSLIC, and an equal opportunity lender.
Good morning. I'm Randall Pinkston. 59 degrees, partly sunny skies in the city. I'll have the complete forecast in just a few minutes. The only public school of its kind, a high school for homosexual students, has been holding classes in New York City since April. Today's New York Times reports that the school, with an enrollment of 20 boys and girls, is conducted in a Greenwich Village church. It's named the Harvey Milk School after the gay activist and San Francisco politician who was shot to death in 1978. The City Board of Education is operating the school in conjunction with the Institute for the Protection of Lesbian and Gay Youth. The 14 boys and girls in the school reportedly have had difficulties dealing with conventional school settings. Stepped-up water restrictions go into effect in New York City and Westchester County. Mayor Koch declared Phase 2 of the drought emergency plan, which means that you can't water lawns or fill private swimming pools. In Westchester, they are allowing 8 hours of lawn sprinkling each week, and Mayor Koch thinks that's too much. Westchester gets 85% of its water from the city, and Koch wants them to get tougher with their own water restrictions. County Executive Andrew O'Rourke says he is willing to meet with Mayor Koch and talk about it. Police in Mamaroneck say they have no lead so far, no suspects in the murder of a 17-year-old girl who was found strangled in a hotel. The victim, Maria Azevedo, was a popular high school honor student. Her body found Tuesday night in a local motel room. Earlier that day, she had been given $400 by her mother to pay the village taxes after school. She was missing from school that day, and the money is missing too. As the city hotel strike goes into its 6th day, the state mediator says he sees no light at the end of the tunnel in the bitter dispute. 53 of the city's best hotels have been struck so far. The union is threatening to add 30 to 35 more to the strike list by the weekend. The Teamsters Union is refusing to pick up garbage or deliver food at the struck hotels. The next round of bargaining is set for tomorrow. State mediator William Glensman says if the strike continues much longer, the state may appoint a special fact-finding panel or board of inquiry. There was a ruckus in Albany yesterday as tenants and landlords shouted from the galleries as lawmakers extended rent controls for another 2 weeks. During that period, the legislature will consider long-range rent laws, but right now, no major changes are expected. In the assembly, landlords were so noisy, objecting to rent controls, that the chamber had to be cleared for 2 hours. And in the Senate, tenants shouted and hissed when a bill they supported failed to pass. There's a hospital strike in New York City this morning. Interns and residents at Brooklyn's Interfaith Medical Center started picketing the 500-bed facility a few minutes ago. They say they went on strike because hospital administrators refused to negotiate with them. In this traffic note this morning, if you're traveling through the Holland Tunnel, you should know that there are delays of about a half hour going east through the tunnel. There was a tractor-trailer truck that was stuck this morning. It has been cleared, but the backup caused by that tractor-trailer accident is continuing. So expect at least 30-minute delays eastbound in the Holland Tunnel. In a moment, we'll take a look at sports scores and the weather forecast.
If you're planning to build or buy a 1 to 4 family home, your Anchor bankers can help you make it a reality with an affordable move-right-in mortgage loan. Here is Anchor's current mortgage rate, so start living the home life you and your family deserve. Visit any Anchor Savings Bank office. for full details on the loan just right for you. Remember, your Anchor banker, he understands.
That's right. Your Anchor banker. She understands.
Potamkin Communications is your one-stop cellular mobile car phone center, where you'll find the best price, expert installation, and quality service. And you can own an original Bell car phone for as little as $1,195, or lease for only $38 a month. Potamkin is an authorized agent for 9X Mobile Communications. $1,195 or $38 a month puts a cellular phone in your car. Potamkin is making the cellular car phone affordable for everyone.
In local sports, one game on the home team scoreboard, the Mets lost to the Dodgers 2-1. Four Dodgers pitchers combined on a three-hitter, George Foster producing a home run for the Mets, their only score. The Yankees and Oakland A's rained out at the stadium. Now the forecast from the Channel 2 Weather Center. No rain in the forecast today. Partly sunny skies. Temperature 70 to 75 degrees. Tonight clear and cool, 50 to 55. Tomorrow sunny in the 70s. Saturday there is a possibility of rain, a bit cooler in the 60s. Right now 59 degrees, partly sunny skies. That's the Channel 2 News Morning Report. Today on Channel 2 News at 5, we'll have guests for you and lots of news. Hope you'll join us at 5 and stay tuned for all the day's news at 6. I'm Randall.
The CBS Morning News continues with Bill Curtis and Maria Shriver substituting for Phyllis George.
Good morning again. John Travolta was in the news recently, not for his role in a movie, but for his part in the controversy over Scientology. He talks about that with Pat Collins this half hour. And then the continuing problem of tuberculosis among the elderly. Dr. Isidore Rosenfeld tells us about it. But first, Bill will bring us up to date on the latest news.
Leading with a rather startling story this morning. Federal police say they have found the body of a man they believe to be Joseph Mengele in Brazil, the so-called angel of death in the Auschwitz concentration camp. The reports say that a body was found buried in the small town of Embu, about 40 miles from Sao Paulo. He is reported to have drowned in 1979. Those reports are from Brazilian radio. They're coming across the wires now. They also quote police as saying that Mengele arrived in Brazil in 1969 or 1970 with a German couple and hid out with that German couple. We'll have more a bit later in the morning. It's just moving at this time. President Reagan spends today in two southern states, in Georgia, where he spent the night. The president will address a group of high school students this morning. Then it's on to Alabama and a fundraiser for Senator Jeremiah Denton. Mr. Reagan is using the trip to gather support for his tax reform proposal and to offer an open invitation to dissatisfied Democrats to join the Republican ranks. Today is the third anniversary of the Israeli invasion of Lebanon, and the day Israel said Lebanon would be rid of all the Israeli fighters. But Israeli troops, some of them at least, remain in Lebanon this morning. Word from military sources in Israel is that the withdrawal will be complete, quote, in the very near future. A Navy man accused of spying for the Russians had passed the government's test for top security clearance twice during his 23-year career. Sherry Whitworth's arrest has made the government question its security checks and has baffled his family.
He jeopardized his whole country by doing that, if he did it. Even his own self, because he was on board them airplane carriers, and he was taking a chance on them, on a possible attack on one of them or something, see? So I just can't understand that at all. I just can't hardly believe it at all.
Three other alleged members of the spy ring have been arrested, and the FBI says there is a fifth suspect. Medical researchers say that they found a way to reduce the risk of toxic shock syndrome. Now, according to their findings, two fibers found in some tampons can remove magnesium from the body, and that in turn can lead to the disease. The scientists say the tampons can be made safer if manufacturers add magnesium to their product. New York City's Board of Education is operating a high school for homosexual students. The New York Times reports the school went into operation in April. A teacher at the school for 14 boys and 6 girls says all of them would be targets for abuse in regular schools. Madame Louise Pratt is back in custody this morning. Her portrait is, anyway. The Renoir painting was stolen recently, but an informant's tip led New York City police to an art gallery in the trendy Soho district there, where two men offered her to uncover policemen. Madame Pratt looks no worse for her ordeal and still worth every cent of $750,000. Let me repeat our top story that has just moved a few moments ago. Federal police in Brazil say that they have found the body of a man they believe to be Joseph Mengele, the infamous angel of death at the Auschwitz concentration camp. Brazil Radio is reporting this. They come from a federal police director who said that a man was found buried in the small town of Embu that is about 40 miles from Sao Paulo. West German embassy there in Brasilia denies the story, however, that is being broadcast on Brazilian radio. They say he was drowned in 1979 on a beach about 46 miles southeast of Sao Paulo. Again, the embassy denies the report that the body of Joseph Mengele has been found. It's 34 after the hour. We move on in a moment.
Pat Collins' interview with John Travolta is coming right up. This portion of the CBS Morning News is sponsored by Kellogg's Fruitful Bran, the high-fiber cereal with bushels of taste.
I don't want some wimpy tasting cereal.
If you want bushels of taste,
Fruitful Bran.
I don't want some itty-bitty taste. Peaches, raisins, apples, dates.
Fruitful Bran. Did you say peaches?
Bushels of flavor swimming in the flakes. Fruitful Bran has bushels of taste.
High-fiber Kellogg's Fruitful Bran. Now with even more fruit, because we added
peaches.
Bushels and bushels and bushels of taste in Kellogg's Fruitful Bran.
Now with peaches.
When someone's had a less than perfect day, send them a pick-me-up bouquet from FTD. Leo, are you in there?
No.
Leo, everybody fumbles the ball.
Not 5 times.
Got a surprise for you. A pick-me-up bouquet from Lois in Des Moines.
5 times in the same quarter.
It's flowers in a rainbow coffee mug and a reusable tote bag, so I won't drop it.
Ha ha.
I'll just leave it here for you.
Okay. Merlin, I can't get out.
Lift someone's spirits with an FTD pick-me-up bouquet.
Hey, Merlin, are you holding the door?
It's New Year's Eve. It's only 8:30, and the party's over already. The cash I sunk into this, lobsters, caviar, a whole pig. What's this?
Sardine or sushi.
Yeah, and then we run out of something that don't like cost nothing. Nice.
The new Admiral Party Ice refrigerator makes more than twice as much ice every day as GE, Whirlpool, or Frigidaire. Call 1-800-FAST-ICE for your nearest dealer. Admiral, because when you're out of ice, the party's over.
I want my Serta.
I want my Serta.
Here's why people want their Serta. Why they're spoiled for any other mattress. Only Serta goes beyond just being firm, beyond what others do. We top our support with the extra comfortable Serta surface. A unique difference you can feel in a Serta Perfect Sleeper.
Marvin, I want my Serta.
It's now 36 minutes past the hour.
Let's go to London, can we? You're going to take us there? A little American action going under the...
That's right. We went to Europe and found a real touch of American. Some of us who live in Maryland may recognize this ship. This happens to be the Pride of Baltimore. And it is now in London after a transatlantic sail. Actually, it's a reproduction of the 1812 schooner. You can recognize that Tower Bridge in the background, the Thames there, and looks like the weather is kind of lousy.
Not much wind there, huh?
Little time warp there, isn't that? Take you back? My goodness.
But that ship is a goodwill ambassador for the city of Baltimore and the state of Maryland, and it's kind of nice to catch up with it. I have been on one of those tall ships, by the way.
Really?
Sailed up the Delaware River from southern Delaware all the way up to near Philadelphia. It took about 9 days. It felt like it really is a long, hard haul to go on one of those.
Incredible amount of work goes into getting the sails up.
That's the thing. The rigging, the 3 masts. It's something to think that people are working that way and did that in the past. All right, I got to work right now. I know. Let's take a look at what's going on in Baltimore and elsewhere on the East Coast. You're going to find clouds in that direction, and some of that is help because it's been very dry, especially from Old Maryland northward, and the rain could be there this morning and then again over the weekend. The southern states have been very dry and very hot. That has been the weather headline for the last 4 or 5 days. Some of those clouds moving in your direction if you live in Alabama, Georgia, portions of northern Florida. It's going to be until the weekend until things really get better. Maybe drop the mercury about 10 degrees or so, but 100 degrees really in reach for most locations from the Carolinas southward. The thunderstorms, watch out, especially in Arkansas, portions of Oklahoma and eastern Texas. They could be very heavy this afternoon because that storm is sitting in place. It's been there for the last several days, and the southwestern storm This week it's going to be very hot across portions of Arizona and New Mexico, 110 degrees or so for Friday and Saturday. Rainy across most of the Pacific Northwest from Montana over to Oregon and over portions of western Washington state. Clearing skies, nice weather, beautiful for most of the northern plains. Take that across the Great Lakes until you get just about western Pennsylvania. Soaking rain is likely for a good deal of the Northeast by the end of this week. That's a look at all the weather. Here's a look at some temperatures and forecasts for some locations around the nation.
The forecast for the Channel 2 area, morning clouds, afternoon sunshine, temperatures in the low 70s. Tonight clear, 55 to 60. Tomorrow, 70 to 75 degrees with sunny skies.
Just hoping it's smooth sailing for your June 6th. More weather for you tomorrow.
I now give you permission to walk over me for the rest of the time that the star exists on the sidewalk. So be my guest, walk over me.
Thank you, John. John Travolta now has a star to call his own. It was dedicated on the Hollywood Walk of Fame yesterday, just in time for the release of his new movie called Perfect. These days, promoting the movie isn't his only concern. He's also rallied to a religious cause, and Pat Collins talked with him about it when she was in Los Angeles. Good morning to you, Pat.
Good morning again, Maria. Well, Welcome Back, Kotter made him a television star at 21, and Saturday Night Fever made him a movie star and got him an Oscar nomination at 23. John Travolta started early and grew up fast. In addition to handling his enormous success, Travolta handled enormous tragedy: the death from cancer of his girlfriend, the actress Diana Hyland, and 18 months later, the death also from cancer of his mother, a vibrant and bright woman who had been Travolta's guiding light. For help, Travolta turned to the Church of Scientology, the California-based religious organization that its detractors describe as a dangerous cult. Scientology is less theology and more technology. Members are diagnosed by an e-meter, a lie detector kind of device, and then counseled. More skilled members like Travolta do some of the counseling. Scientology is in the news again, and Travolta is always characterized as its most famous member. Travolta would rather talk about his new movie, Perfect, but having been in the public eye for almost a decade, Travolta knows his press is beyond his control.
I'm a reporter for Rolling Stone. I'm doing a story about the sports connection here.
Really?
I'd love to do an interview with you.
Why?
Why not? But you think about it. I'll be around for a few days.
Well, I'll think about it, but I don't change my mind about anything.
Could you give me a reason why?
I read magazines.
Here's John Travolta, who has known his share of negative press, playing a reporter who is known for turning out negative press. Travolta is well acquainted with the ruthless side of journalism. From moment to moment, the comments range from mean to vicious. The critics weren't kind about Two of a Kind either. After the huge box office success of Grease, the same press that had built him up were ready to tear him down, or that's how Travolta analyzes it. Good press, bad press, or no press, Travolta says he is now immune to all of it.
I've, after 10 years, grown a tolerance and an immunity to the publicity. So I've accepted all the risks involved, and I never see publicity as easy. I always see it as tough, no matter how much, how charming a situation it could be. So therefore, I lay myself open not to be disappointed or hurt if it is a negative situation. So there's really nothing that could happen in the press now in my life that I feel could damage me, because I've dealt with the very best scenarios and the very worst scenarios.
Another scenario involves Travolta and the Church of Scientology. Travolta attended a rally in Oregon 2 weeks ago to defend the church against its critics, and there are many. Former members say they are harassed and that Scientology exists only to make money. The church has been accused of infiltrating government agencies that question them, and Scientology founder Ron Hubbard has not been seen in 5 years, supporting speculation that he may be incapacitated or dead. In spite of this, Travolta remains loyal.
Certainly, the beliefs and practices that I have studied in Scientology have been invaluable to me. Do you know what I mean? And the counseling that I've given and received through the toughest parts of my life, i.e. the deaths I encountered early on, really got me through, where maybe I don't know how well I would have gotten through it if I hadn't had it. And just the tough times, you know, the kind of pressure that I'd been under with the kind of immediate fame and that kind of thing. Getting some perspective on my life.
Have you ever met Ron Hubbard?
I'd love to. I'd be honored because I think he's so brilliant.
There's some speculation, you know, that he's no longer with us.
Well, I heard that speculation, but I tend to doubt that. But I certainly think he's amazing.
Do you have any proof that he's alive?
I've written and received communication.
From him?
Yeah.
Recently?
Yeah.
Really?
But,
where was can you tell us where the postmark was?
No, it was hand delivered.
Church of Scientology, John, has run into a lot of problems in the last couple of years, including the IRS. Do any of these negative things bother you?
At that time, I think that there were some people in the organization that had actually infiltrated the organization itself that were not good and did not represent it properly.
When you say that the church has been infiltrated, do you mean by people who wish it harm?
There had been, a couple of years where it just was not specific what was going on, and it made me uncomfortable, and it was all cleared up. And that's when I had the feeling that Hubbard himself was back in control again, where maybe he had left for a little bit.
For you, it has been all positive, a real center for your life.
It's not only been a center, it's been something I can depend on. And it works for me, and that's why I finally came to the defense in Portland, because I said, I don't want to lose the counseling or my ability to counsel, because I've learned a lot of ways how to help people as well,
We talked about his beliefs and his commitment to Scientology. We also talked about politics, and more specifically, the fact that that he's sort of non-political. But he did say that it's his dream to make a movie about Tony Manero, the character from Saturday Night Fever, going to the White House. He said that maybe, and I said, well, do you want to run for public office? And he said, well, if I thought I could handle it as well as Ronald Reagan, maybe. I wouldn't rule it out.
Another story there. I'm curious, you mentioned in Perfect he plays a reporter.
Yes.
I've also read that he's actually gone out and started doing some interviews. Did you talk to him about that?
Well, I think he wants to do that. In fact, at the beginning of our interview, I said, do you want to swap places? Because he was asking me a lot of questions. And he said, I'm much more comfortable doing the reporter's job. He said, I'm kind of more of an introvert in a way, and maybe I just like to put somebody else on the spot, let them do the talking, and I want to ask the questions. So who knows? There may be another whole career for John Travolta.
Okay.
Boy journalist, yes.
That movie opens tomorrow.
It does indeed. Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, Pat. It's now 13 before the hour. We hope you'll stay with us.
Next, the risk of TB among the elderly.
Recently, the Chrysler LeBaron GTS challenged 3 of Europe's most celebrated sports sedans to a performance showdown. In critical tests, the LeBaron GTS decisively beat the Audi in acceleration, the Mercedes in cornering, and the BMW in braking. And the LeBaron GTS will keep on beating them.
1, 2.
Hey, bodied steel.
And a mind to match.
Since when?
Well, try me.
Okay. What's the name of your favorite cereal?
Well, there's fruit. It's fruit and
Post Fruit and Fiber tastes so good you forget the fiber. Crispy high-fiber flakes mixed with dates, raisins, and walnuts. So all you remember is
fruit. And it's delicious.
Guess I'll settle for the bodied steel.
Post Fruit and Fiber cereal tastes so good you forget the fiber.
Minute rice fits the way. You're cooking with seafood today. With shrimp or lobster or your favorite fish, Minute rice will finish the dish. Minute rice. Takes just 5 minutes to make it right. Tastes so good, always fluffy and light. Minute rice fits the way. You're cooking with seafood today. With shrimp creole or trout pan fried in a sauce or on the side. The perfect match for the captain's batch. Minute rice fits the way you want to cook today.
Now, 11 minutes before the hour.
One of the most profound medical advances in this century has been in preventing and treating tuberculosis. In the 1800s, TB killed 20% of the population before the age of 50. Well, new drugs are out, of course, that cut the number drastically by the middle of this century. But a disease has not fully been wiped out. I'm a little surprised at that. A new study shows some troubling trends. Dr. Isidore Rosenfeld is here to tell us all about it. I did think that we would be hearing no more of any TB. They're closing down the clinics. Where do we stand?
Well, the sanatoria are gone. People spending their lives in the mountains breathing fresh air no longer exists. And there are antibiotics and drugs that cure the disease, but it has not by any means disappeared. As a matter of fact, last year, there were 22,000 new cases with 1,600 deaths. The problem, in fact, is such a great one, Bill, that as we speak, there has been a meeting convened in Massachusetts by scientists expert in this field to see what can be done about it. And what I want to talk about today is a report that was released only last night of a big study of nursing homes in Arkansas.
I saw the report and read just a little bit about it. What does it show?
Well, it's an incredible report. What these people did was they went to every single nursing home in the state, 223 nursing homes, and they examined every older person who was being admitted to a nursing home. Now, they did skin tests on all of them. A skin test for TB, if it's positive, means that at some time in the past, you have been exposed to TB. I, as a doctor, see all kinds of people in my office who cough in my face, one thing or another. I have a positive test. I do not have TB. I have been exposed. 12% of all these people admitted to the nursing homes over the age of 65 have positive tests. When they follow these people in the nursing homes and repeat the skin tests up to 30 months, they find that the 12% has increased to 22%, so that about 1 person in 10 entering a nursing home in Arkansas becomes newly infected with tuberculosis in that nursing home.
It sounds off the top of my head like the problem is in the nursing home, or is it with all elderly people?
No, it's with all elderly people. I want to show you a bar graph here, which indicates the incidence of the disease. You see, over the age of 65, how much taller that graph is. The fact is, almost 30% of cases of tuberculosis are in this older age group. Now, it's true, however, that for such older people living in nursing homes, the incidence is 4 times greater. The chances are 4 times greater of getting the disease than if they were to remain at home.
Why?
Well, you have to understand, that's overcrowding, number one. But why the elderly get it, you have to understand the mechanism of how one gets tuberculosis in the first place. It's by aerosol inhalation. You inhale the bug. Now, in most people, when they inhale the bug, the defense mechanisms of the body form a wall around to trap it. The bug lives in the body, but it is trapped, can't do anybody any harm. Now, as we get older, our defense mechanisms begin to wane, and the wall surrounding those live bugs in certain numbers of people evaporates, the bug is liberated, and then you cough it out, infect yourself, as a matter of fact, and infect other people.
How do you stop the further spread within the nursing homes?
Well, the authors of this study proposed a very ingenious and I think revolutionary proposition. They would have everybody at high risk take prophylactic or preventive medication. We didn't used to do that because we thought that the medication harmed the elderly, hurt the liver. It turns out that among the people whom they gave preventive medication to, there was only 1/50th approximately of the cases of active tuberculosis. In other words, those who didn't get the prevention had 45 times the risk of developing the disease. So it requires a high degree of awareness among physicians and among older people generally that tuberculosis is not a dead issue, that it's very much alive, that one has to take the usual precautions, and if one is at risk, particularly in a crowded nursing home, to take preventive medication.
So we can cure it like that. We have to know somebody has it, however,
That's right.
in order to wipe it out.
That's
and
right.
So
we have very effective medications.
Great. Well, Dr. Rosenfeld, always good to talk to you.
Thank you.
You pick me up in the morning at 6 before the hour.
Tomorrow on the CBS Morning News, how Vietnam veterans are reacting to Rambo.
It's time we discuss the facts of recliners. Naked chairs. Sure, it's shocking. But better you see this than fall in love with a recliner that's not from Lazy Boy. Look, where this chair uses plywood and chopped foam, Lazy Boy uses double-doweled hardwood and solid foam. Don't get your heart broken. The Lazy Boy tag means beauty that lasts. Your parents never told you this stuff?
See your Sunday magazine for the Lazy Boy Father's Day sale.
These two fine products from Upjohn are recommended most by doctors and pharmacists. Kaopectate for diarrhea, Cordate for minor itches and rashes. Cordate relieves itches and rashes caused by eczema, dermatitis, insect bites, poison ivy, and oak. Kaopectate is the diarrhea specialist, the only leading non-prescription medication created just for diarrhea. You have relief within 24 hours. Cordate and Kaopectate from Upjohn, recommended most by doctors and pharmacists. And they're right.
Men never cease to amaze me. Some guys don't think twice about the cologne they use. But a cologne says a lot about a man. And I think the cologne that says it best is English leather. English leather has a clean, masculine scent. In fact, as far as I'm concerned, a man should wear English leather or nothing at all. Look, I don't fall for a guy just because he wears a nice cologne. But I know what I like. And I like a man to wear English leather or wear nothing at all.
Fiber is one of the things nature puts in food, and fiber is one of the things we take out. If we take out too much fiber, we may become irregular. That's why doctors recommend Metamucil more often than any other laxative. Metamucil is made from gentle grain fiber, natural fiber your digestive system needs to work properly. In orange, regular, and delicious strawberry flavor, too. Metamucil, for the fiber you need every day.
The time now 4 minutes before the hour, and here's the weather forecast.
The forecast for the Channel 2 area, morning clouds, afternoon sunshine, temperatures in the low 70s. Tonight clear, 55 to 60. Tomorrow, 70 to 75 degrees with sunny skies.
You have a friend there. Keep him warm for a moment. You know, the blockbuster movie hit these days is Sylvester Stallone's Rambo sequel. Tomorrow on the Morning News, we're going to talk with some Vietnam veterans for their reaction. And we'll have a rare musical treat as conductor Michael Tilson Thomas plays some newly published piano works by George Gershwin.
I look forward to that. Also, our expert on pets, Brian Kilcummins, checks in with some ways to keep your dog and cat free of ticks and fleas this summer. And we're going to look at some charming photos of the Reagans that appeared in the magazine called Vanity Fair. We'll talk to the man who took those pictures, and Steve's got something that he wants to talk about.
You really like that last one, huh? Okay, well, let me get this out first. We'll also find out why the yuppie era may be ending on Madison Avenue, plus the Washington Notebook and Pat's Weekend Entertainment Preview, all tomorrow on CBS Morning News.
He's voice activated.
Now he shuts up.
Oh, as we leave it this morning, let's take another look from all of our friends here to the pride of Baltimore. She's gracing the waters off London today after a sail across the Atlantic.
That's right.
Say goodbye, AG.
You got it?
Have a nice day.
When it's important, America turns to CBS News for objectivity, accuracy, reliability. Watch the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather.
On tonight's CBS Late Movie, is Colt rushing headlong into danger and straight to
Panama.
guy's hanging on for his life tonight.
This is CBS.
During the 40s, World War II sent us to work, only to send us back home again. But today, it's no longer a passing fad. It's a fact of life. 50 million of us are out there week after week, from secretaries to executives. We're working because we want to and because we have to. Channel 2 kicks off a month-long celebration by examining today's superwoman, balancing a family, career, and motherhood.
I don't think I could do her job.
Join Carol Martin and Michelle Marsh for The Working Woman tonight at 10.
You know why I look the way I look? I eat at Wendy's. Wendy's has a new light menu. Hundreds of lower-calorie salads with new fresh fruit, hot baked potatoes, and pasta salad. Wendy's light menu even has a lower-calorie multigrain bun. I always eat from Wendy's light menu. Can't you tell?
Try Wendy's new light menu.
At Pathmark, you're the one who's number one. And one way we make you number one is with big coupon savings like the 99-cent coupon bonanza in this Sunday's paper. Get a quart of Hellman's mayonnaise, 99 cents. Half-gallon Pathmark pure orange juice, 99 cents. Ritz crackers, 99 cents. And Breyer's yogurts, 3 for 99 cents. For coupon savings and more, come to Pathmark, where you're the one who's number one 24 hours a day.
Pathmark number one!
Rockford tangles with the Russians today at 4.
It's time for the all-new Let's Make a Deal, starring TV's big dealer, Monty Hall.
Thank you and welcome to all of you. This is Let's Make a Deal with the wildest and best-natured and good-humored audience in television history. And now, I'm going to start off today by telling you that I have something for you. Gotta save the microphone. The three people who are screaming pretty good are Chenille Wilmington and Bud Burden and Kathy Bernstein. Now, here's what I have for you three people. I have something just great. You'll just love this. It's a little dollar for the bunny rack.
Thank you.
And a little dollar for the soldier, for the little Western here, and for the Viking, $1. Now, that's just an ordinary dollar to you, but when you put it in the magic money machine over here, something happens. You put a dollar bill on one side and a different bill comes out from the other side, sometimes great amounts. So what I want to know from you, Chenille, is are you going to put your money in the money machine hoping that out comes another $500 bill or something like that? Huh?
Chanel sure is.
Chanel sure is. Chanel sure is what? Ready to put the money in. However, before Chanel does that, I want to show you part of what's back at curtain number 2 and ask you if you're interested in trading it away for pasta and what may be behind the pasta.
Cremettes, premium quality in the famous green box. Cremette spaghetti cooks up tender without sticking together. Try some tonight.
There's something behind the pasta, too. So the question is, do you want the money? Do you want what's back of the pasta? The pasta. Here's what happens. If she had taken her dollar and put it in the machine, out would come for you, Chanel, but you're not going to get it, a $1,000 bill. You're not going to get the $1,000. I'm sorry to tell Chanel, but what's back of the pasta? This is what you do end up with. Spaghetti and meatballs. The spaghetti was in front, the meatballs are behind, and that's what you're going to have for dinner. Lots of spaghetti and lots of meatballs. Chanel lost $1,000. Bud, Bud's got it. He's got his little horse's head handle over here, and you can have the dollar bill go through the machine. Hope there's another $1,000 bill in it, or do you want the box on the display floor that Karen is from?
I'll try the money.
He's going to go for the money. What was back of the box that Bud turned down? Bud, if you had gone for that box, you could have had yourself a wacky rabbit. Bud made the wise move. He doesn't get the wacky rabbit. He puts the dollar in the machine, and would you believe coming out for him is another $1,000 bill. $1,000. $1,000. Better than a rabbit. Right. Very good. Boy, for a minute, I thought he was going to kiss me. I started shaking my boots. All right. You may be seated, cowboy. Chanel, you didn't do as well. But Bud, he scored well. Kathy, what does it say on your sign over here? I got to read the sign. It says, watched you since I was a kid. Now I'm here to make a bid. Don't make me feel old, Kathy. When you were watching me when you were a kid, I was a kid doing the show. Oh, give her a shot. You really know how to make a guy feel terrible, Kathy.
Well, here's what we're going to do then. We're going to make a deal with the old girl. How do you think we'll do?
Okay.
All right then. We're going to make you an offer. Now you can take the dollar bill and put it in the machine, or
you could have what's behind curtain number 3. She wants the curtain. Take the dollar bill and show her what she passed up. Was it another 1,000? No, it was just 100. You made a wise move because behind curtain number 3 for Kathy Bernstein, we have something very nice. And take a look. Appliances for your home. The Viking Kiss Me Home. Yes, you did.
Frigidaire's popular mid-size microwave oven. It features touch control, a meal minder probe, and the full circle cooking system from Frigidaire Appliances. Retail price $340. And this is Frigidaire's top-of-the-line laundry pair. The washer has a big 18-pound capacity, variable water visor control, new Halo spray fill system. The dryer includes an extra wide door opening and 4 temperature settings. From Frigidaire Appliances, they sell for $880. And if you want clean floors, don't vacuum electric broom with a lightweight Regina electric broom power team. 2 motors and a beater brush really beat out there. This deal's worth $1,300.
So Kathy did well, and Bud did well, and Chanel didn't do as well. All right. Well, my next deal will start off with $600 in cash, and then it goes up from there, right after this.
The working woman. 6 million of us heading families alone, combining careers and educations and motherhood. Almost half of us who work with children under the age of 1. It is not difficult to see what we have in common. All 19.5 million of us women who work, women who need childcare. Reach out to the Daycare Council of New York, 212-398-0380.
And where did we get this? What's the problem?
Well, I bought it. It's from Aramis.
Oh, nice.
It has cologne, it has shampoo, this little hair dryer.
The Aramis Travel Kit with 7 groomers and a hairdryer. A $60 value for $18.50 when you purchase Aramis, Devon, Aramis 900, or JHL.
What's your address? I'll send you one.
I can't believe you said that.
Now at all Macy's and Van Burgers.
Delicious Breyers Ice Cream presents the bean test. What kind of beans go into vanilla ice cream? This one has locust beans. This Breyers has just milk, cream, sugar, and real vanilla beans. You can see them here, and best of all, you can taste them here.
Breyers all-natural ice cream. Nothing but pure enjoyment.
Here are 3 ways to keep a friend. Drive them home, let them sleep over, or call them a cab. But don't let them drive drunk. Reach out to Students Against Driving Drunk, Nassau County Department of Alcohol and Drug Addiction, 516-542-2509.
I am about to make a deal with you, my dear. Now, here, your name is Juanita Tapia, is that right? All right, Juanita. Beautiful Juanita. Listen, I will buy what did you bring to trade for today? Nothing, just nothing. You want me to come down and make a deal and you got nothing to trade. Oh, is that all? Is that your bag? Oh, that's wonderful. That's good. That's just all what I always wanted. I want to stand in the wind and do this all day. No, I'm just teasing you because I'm going to start you off, as I said on this deal, with $600. Wait a minute. Juanita, listen to me. Here's 100. Quickly. 2, don't jump. 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay? Okay, now, I gave you the $600 because exciting things could happen to you. See, if you don't want the $600, you could buy the box on the display floor instead. Take a look at that box down there. Anita, you have to tell me sometime in the next 20 minutes. You keep the money. What was in the box that Juanita turned down? Back of that box, waiting for you.
Brookline's wall-away recliner combines luxurious comfort with traditional styling. This space-saving recliner can be placed near a wall and still glide smoothly to a fully reclined position from Brookline. It retails for $699. And for music while relaxing, you'll receive a service merchandise gift certificate with which you might purchase this Sanyo stereo component system with 25 watts per channel and Dolby system for the cassette deck from the 500-page service merchandise catalog or at one of their showrooms. The stereo sells for $499.95. Total value of this deal, $1,198.95.
If you didn't get that, you don't have that. You have the money. I just wondered why you got so excited when you heard the total was $1,200.
Happy?
You're happy. Good. Would you just calm down for a minute because I'm going to offer you some more. Juanita, you have $600. You turned down the $1,200. I have another box for sale right over here. Would you like to buy that? As a matter of fact, what would you like to do? I'm going to give you a choice. You can have the 600, or now that you've seen the 1,200, you could even have that instead. Or you could have this. So you have your choice of this or that or this.
I'll take that.
So you don't want the 600.
I'll take the
Right.
stereo.
And you don't want this. But you do want that.
Yes.
So the reclining chair and the stereo worth $1,100 and some odd dollars are yours. Show her what she passed up. A brand new automobile.
It's the Volkswagen Golf two-door hatchback, a fuel-efficient four-cylinder overhead cam engine, reclining front bucket seats, and a spacious interior with room for 5 adults. From Box with Volkswagen, with tax and license, it sells for $9,394.
You weren't even suspicious when I offered you everything you saw and then put a little box, huh? Somebody in the audience yelled, take the little box. Who was that yelled it? Now, 280 people said, I told you to do that. Anyhow, you still have the 1,100 and some autos with merchandise. Thank you, Juanita. You may dance. You may jump. And I have $2,600. Not yet. That sound effect says it's time for the exciting door number 4. And, of course, that means